Good morning, we're on the record. Good morning, everyone. As chairperson of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board for the District of Columbia, and in accordance with DC Code Section 2571HC of the Open Meetings Act, OMA, I am welcoming you to the regular scheduled meeting of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board. This meeting has been conducted pursuant to guidance made available by the District of Columbia's Office of Open Government regarding electronic meetings held by public bodies. Electronic meetings by the ABC Board or are authorized pursuant to Section 577A of the DC Code. Pursuant to the OMA requirements, notice of today's meeting was provided 48 hours in advance of the meeting on ABRA's website and on the District Central meeting calendar. The notice includes the time, date, agenda, and call-in or login information for public participation. This electronic meeting has been hosted by a WebEx account provided by the District of Columbia government. Please address any questions or complaints to the OOG at opengovoffice@dc.gov. My name is Donovan Anderson. I'm chairman of the board. I would like to introduce the other members of the ABC board who are also participating electronically. Mr. James Short.
Mr. James Short, present.
Mr. Bobby Cato.
Bobby Cato, present.
Ms. Rafi Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, present.
Ms. Jenny Hansen.
Jenny Hansen, present.
Mr. Edward Grandis.
Edward Grandis, present.
The board has 6 members in attendance for the conduct of business today, and that constitutes a quorum. Before we get underway with today's hearing calendar, I need to make a few instructions very clear so that the conduct of these hearings is understood by everyone. There are 9 cases scheduled for today on today's calendar. Once the case is called, I will take a moment for IT specialists to elevate the rights for each party to enable their camera and microphone. Then and only then will you have the ability to enable your equipment. If your case has not been heard, you will remain mute and your camera will be disabled. At the conclusion of each case, the parties will have the option to leave. If the party chooses to stay, all cameras and microphones for the concluded case will be disabled. Should you have any questions or require technical assistance during the hearing, please submit them using the question and answer feature. Our first case this morning is a protest hearing status case number 22, PRO 00025, DC Live, license number 120261. Ms. Foshman, can you please elevate the rights of the licensee in this case, please?
Good morning. Please stand by. Sidon Johannes, your rights have been elevated. Keith Horvath, your rights have been elevated. That is all, Mr. Chair.
Good morning. Thank you. Mr. Horvath, are you there, sir?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Do you have a camera, sir? I just see a blank screen.
I do have a camera. There we go. How's that?
Yes, I can see you. All right, good morning again.
Right.
Good morning, Ms. Yonis. Can you please spell and state your name for the record and your relationship to this case, please?
Good morning. Sidon Johannes on behalf of the licensee, the applicant, SIDON YOHANNES.
Thank you. Good morning. Mr. Horvath, can you please spell and state your name for the record and your relationship to this case, sir?
Sure. Keith Horvath, KEITH, last name HORV as in Victor ATH. And I am the property owner of the residence at 475 H Street Northwest, adjacent to and abutting the property that is about to be renovated and used by Ms. Johannes's clients.
Good morning. So you are an abutting property owner protesting this license. That's correct, sir, right?
That is correct.
Are there any preliminary matters in this case?
None for the licensee, but I will just say that the parties attended mediation and hope to resolve this matter soon.
And I would
Go ahead.
I would agree with that statement, and Ms. Johannes has provided me with a letter from the applicants that while in tone and scope indicates their plan to soundproof the building so that the code is not violated. There are obviously details that need to be worked out. And of course, all of that is still dependent on them actually opening and using the facility.
Well, unfortunately, because the facility is not open as yet, there has to be some type of trust. There have to be some type of agreement there. If that's so, if the parties and the board supports settlement agreements in the sense that if the parties can, in fact, mediate and settle this matter, the board supports that because at the end of the day, since you're protesting it, if we go to a protest hearing and if the board grants the license, you will be happy. If the board denies the license, the applicant will be unhappy. The board prefers that the parties can get along, can agree if this is something that they mutually want to do. So that's all I'm saying. So if you believe that having this discussions is fruitful, the board supports that, sir, and in the sense that if the parties are able to settle this matter. Now, if the parties are not able to settle this matter then will be scheduled for a protest hearing on June 29th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Any questions by anyone?
No questions from me.
Have you ever gone to a protest hearing, sir? I know that Ms. Johannes has, but have you ever, if this matter goes to a protest hearing, have you ever been to one, sir?
I have not, sir.
All right, so let me give you the instructions then for how this operates. Following this hearing, you will receive an email from ABRA's legal assistant, Ms. Imani Moreland, that will include a copy of a protest information form, PIP, and a copy of an exhibit form, as well as specific instructions for the hearing. You are required to complete and submit the PIP and exhibit forms at least 7 days before the date of the hearing. Your application or your protest may be subject to dismissal if these documents are not exchanged 7 days prior to the hearing. These documents need to be submitted to ABRA Legal and to the opposing parties. Please know that these documents greatly assist the board in narrowing the protest issues, facilitating the process, and keeping the parties on point during the hearing. Each side is limited to no more than 5 witnesses, and you will only have 60 minutes to present your case. This includes all direct and cross-examination. The board does not intend to hear testimony in matters that are not relevant to those issues that are being protested. Any questions by anyone?
No, sir.
Not for the applicant.
All right, thank you. We thank you greatly for your cooperation. If you have any questions at any time leading up to the hearing, please do not hesitate to contact Ms. Moreland at 202-442-6942. And if the parties believe that this matter can be resolved, I support that. I support having as much conversations as is necessary to resolve this. But if it can't be resolved, then we'll have a protest hearing on June 29th at 1:30, and then we will resolve. All right. But again, if it can be resolved, the board supports resolution of these matters. Okay. Have a great day, and thank you very much.
You too.
All right, the next case in our Calendar is case number 22 PRO 00024, M Street Entertainment LLC, trade name to be determined, license number 119608. Ms. Foshman, can you please elevate the rights of the parties in this case, please?
Please stand by. Matt Menora, your rights have been elevated. Lisa Palmer, your rights cannot be elevated, but I will unmute you. Karen Cruz, your rights have been elevated. Again, Lisa Palmer, you are unmuted. That is all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Ms. Palmer, do you have, I think, well, Ms. Cruz, do you have a camera? I see you're on my screen twice. Ms. Cruz. Ms. Cruz, are you there? Ms. Cruz.
She appears to still be muted.
Are you able, I'm sorry, who is that speaking?
That was Lisa Palmer.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Palmer. Ms. Foshman, can you check again to see if Ms. Cruz has been unmuted? Because she's on my screen twice, but I'm not seeing her or hearing her.
Both of her accounts have been unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, who just spoke?
Karen Cruz.
Ms. Cruz, you appear to be logged on twice because I see you on my screen twice. Are you logged onto two separate equipment?
No, that's on one, but I'm getting that reverberation.
Right. So how are you logged on to this hearing?
Isn't I don't know what the problem is.
I think you're logged on twice because I'm hearing a feedback, and so when I hear feedback, it's because you're either on your computer and on your phone at the same time. Are you doing that?
I'm not on my phone. I'm just on a computer. I can see where it's on twice, but I can't undo it.
Why don't you just log off and log back on, and I'll ask Miss. Are you there, Miss Cruz?
Yes, I am.
All right. Why don't you please log off, and I'll have Miss Foshman look for you again for you to log. So I'll just ask you for you to log off.
I'm going to try, but I'm not very good on computers. Let me try.
And Ms. Foshman, can you look to see when Ms. Cruz logs back on, please?
Copy.
Are you there, Ms. Cruz?
I'm here now. I'm back.
It's the same problem, but what I'll ask you to do is that just keep your phone on mute and just unmute your phone when you need to speak out, and we'll just deal with the feedback. All right, good morning, everyone. So, Mr. Menor, can you please spell and state your name for the record, please, and your affiliation with this case?
My name is Matthew Menora. I'm from the law firm of Malleus O'Brien and Sandground, and we're ABC licensed counsel for the licensee. My name is Matthew, M-A-T-T-H-E-W, Menora, M-I-N-O-R-A.
Good morning, Mr. Menora.
Good morning.
Ms. Palmer, can you please spell and state your name for the record, please?
Sure, Lisa Palmer, L-I-S-A, last name Palmer, P-A-L-M-E-R.
And your affiliation with this case, Miss?
ANC2E.
Ms. Cruz, can you please spell and state your name for the record, please?
Karen Cruz, K-A-R-E-N-C-R-U-S-E, the Citizens Association of Georgetown. And if I may, I'd like to say that I'm going to let Commissioner Palmer speak for us since we're having this audio problem.
Well, I know that, but before she can speak for you, there's something I need to do. Mr. Menor, it's my understanding that the Citizens Association of Georgetown does not have standing to participate in this hearing. And so so there's a standing issue with them having standing to participate in this hearing. Do you have, on behalf of your client, do you consent to the Citizens Association having standing to participate in this hearing?
Yes, yeah. We understand that it was due to just a miscommunication as to why they weren't at the roll call hearing. So yeah, of course, we consent to having standing.
Then I make a motion that without objection, then I make a motion that the ABC board grants standing to the Citizens Association of Georgetown to participate in this matter. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. So the Citizens Association of Georgetown has been granted standing to participate in this hearing as a party. Mr. Menor, are there any other preliminary matters that needs to be brought to the attention of the board?
None, we have none.
All right, thank you. Ms. Palmer, are there any preliminary matters that needs to be brought to the attention of the board?
No, sir.
And I know that Ms. Cruz had stated that you should speak for her, but I just need to find out from her, does the Citizens Association of Georgetown, do they have any preliminary matters need to be brought to the attention of the board, of the board?
No, sir. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, this matter then is scheduled, if this matter goes to a show cause hearing, a protest hearing, this matter is scheduled for a a protest hearing on June 13th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. I'm sorry.
Is it June 13th or July 13th?
July 13th, I apologize. July 13th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. Is that the information that all the party has?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Correct.
All right. Now, the board supports settlement agreements. So the parties can settle this matter. I think this is a substantial change request, I think, on a sports region endorsement. So if the parties can settle this matter, the board supports settlement. But if the parties are unable to settle this matter, then we'll have a hearing on July 13th at 1:30 p.m. Do I need to provide directions on a protest hearing, or are all the parties familiar with the process?
We're familiar.
If the directions are the same as those you just shared with the previous applicants, then we are familiar.
Thank you. Who was just speaking, please?
Lisa Palmer.
Thank you, Ms. Palmer. The reason we have a court reporter, and also because I can't see you, so I'm not sure who was speaking. All right, so that. Thank
Sorry.
you. All right. So it's just, the instructions are the same. And I would hope as I stated before, the board supports settlement if the parties can settle this matter. But if it cannot be settled, we will see you July 13th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. for a protest hearing. Okay? All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your presentation today, your appearance today, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Our next case, we now move to a show cause status hearing calendar. Our next case is case number 22 CMP 00013, Rosemaria de Italia, license number 109613. Ms. Foshburn, can you please elevate the right of the licensee and the government in this case, please?
Chris Southcott, your rights have been elevated. That is all, Mr. Chair.
All right, good morning, Mr. Southcott. Can you please spell and state your name for the record, please, sir, and your relationship?
Good morning. My name is Chris Southcott, first name Chris, last name Southcott. I am from the Office of the Attorney General and will be handling the show cause status hearing cases on behalf of the Attorney General's office.
Good morning, sir. This is your first appearance before the ABC board, so good to have met you and good to see you this morning. All right. I see that the licensee is not here. However, this is a show cause hearing status. The licensee is not required to be here. So then this matter is scheduled for a show cause hearing on June 29th, 2022 at 10:30 a.m. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, the next case in our calendar is case number 22 CMP 00017, Shake Shack, license number 104724. Ms. Foshman, can you please elevate the rights of the licensee in this case, please?
Chairperson, the licensee is not present, but Chris Southcott is present.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Can you please identify yourself for the record? For the record, please, sir.
Chris Southcott, first name Chris, last name Southcott, Southcott. I am an attorney from the Office of the Attorney General who is handling the show cause status hearing in this case.
Good morning again, sir. I see that the licensee is not here. Again, this is a show cause hearing status. The licensee is not required to be here. This matter then is scheduled for a show cause hearing on June 29th, 2022 at 1:30 p.m. And although the licensee is not here, they'll have an opportunity to get a copy of the transcript. But I just want to remind all parties that if this matter goes to a show cause hearing 7 days prior to the hearing, the parties are required to disclose documents and witnesses that will be relied upon at the hearing. All right. The next case in our calendar is case number 22CC 00002. Georgetown Wing Company, license number 119851. This case has been canceled. An offer in compromise has been provided to the board. The board will review this offer in compromise later on this morning on our legal agenda. And that is the end of our show cause status calendar this morning, sir. Thank you for your appearance. Have a great day.
Thank you to the chair and thank you to the rest of the board. Have an excellent day.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, the next case in our calendar is a fact-finding hearing on St. Arnold's Muscle Bar. And Ms. Fossman, can you elevate the rights of the parties in this case? It's my understanding that it is Mr. I'm sorry. Mr. R, that's you, Ms. Johannes? All right. Is the licensee gonna be with us this morning?
No, the licensee will not.
All right. Miss
Should I spell my name? Introduce myself?
Yes, Miss Johannes. Please spell and state your name for the record, please.
Sidon Johannes, on behalf of the licensee, and that's SIDONYOHANNES.
Good morning. Thank you. And is the licensee going to be at this hearing this morning, ma'am?
No, they will not.
This is a fact-finding hearing, and so this licensee had sent a request to the board to extend the safekeeping of its license. This licensee has been in safekeeping for a period of time, and the board, this is a CR license, and the board, we want licenses to come in operation. And so can you tell us, why is it that another request for, how long has this license been in safekeeping? Why is it that another request is being made? And when is it that you anticipate that this license will be in operation?
Sure. The license was placed in safekeeping in October of 2019. So that was right before COVID. And intention at the time was to transfer the license. Once COVID hit, obviously that became incredibly difficult to find or to keep a tenant or find a tenant in order to transfer the license to. So the license remained in safekeeping. And now and more recently, the landlord and the tenant are working together. The intention here is to transfer the license. There is a tenant, there's an agreement that is being worked out. And basically, it's not going to operate obviously until those agreements are done, but we do anticipate filing a transfer application within 6 months. And that is the reason for this additional extension. But in the last 6 months, progress has been made. And as I said, we do anticipate filing an actual transfer application in 6 months.
All right, so if the board was to, because this is a extend request for safekeeping of the license through September 30th, 2022. And so you're stating is that if the board was to grant the license, the extension, it's anticipated that a transfer application will be filed with the board prior to that expiration. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And if a transfer application is not filed with the board prior to that date, what expectations should the board have of the licensee if another request for safekeeping from this licensee? What expectations do you believe the board should have of this licensee if another extension is made to the board for another extension through March 31st, 2023?
At that time, I believe the expectation would be that we would be back here in a fact-finding hearing, but have to give you sufficient reason, good cause as to why the transfer application was not filed, and make a showing that reasonable efforts have been made in order to file a transfer application or to ensure that a tenant or ensure that we can do so pretty quickly.
Now, let me ask you, and I don't know if you know this, Ms. Johansson, is construction, if I'm sorry, who is it? Who do you represent?
Currently, for purposes of this hearing, obviously the licensee, but the landlord.
Okay, so the landlord.
Correct.
Now, is this establishment restaurant ready, or is it that significant construction needs to occur if a restaurant was to move in?
My understanding, and obviously that'll depend on the tenant that comes in, is that it is restaurant ready.
Are there any questions by any other board members? All right. Do you have any other representation you need to make, ma'am?
No, the only other representation I'll make is that fees have been paid and the licensee continues to make those payments and to ensure that this license can stay active.
All right. The board will take this matter under advisement and will issue a decision whether or not we'll grant the extension through September 30th, 2022. All right.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
You too.
The next case on our calendar is a public hearing on the Global Park moratorium zone renewal emergency rulemaking. And Ms. Foshbon, I believe, I'm not sure, I know that the only person who signed up to testify today is Ms. Blumenthal, but is there anyone else on this hearing today? I'm sorry, is there anyone else out there who wishes to testify on the Glover Park moratorium zone renewal? If you are, please identify yourself in the chat and I'll ask Ms. Foshbon to elevate their rights. But Ms. Foshbon, can you please elevate Ms. Jackie Blumenthal?
Chairperson Jackie Blumenthal is the only person that is waiting in the room, so she's elevated now.
All right, thank you. Ms. Blumenthal, do you have a camera that you can turn on, ma'am? I see that you're on my screen, but so if you have a camera, can you turn your camera on and then identify yourself for the record, please?
I'm trying to turn my camera on right now.
Thank you.
Okay, here I am.
All right, good morning. Can you identify yourself for the record, please, ma'am?
Yes, my name is Jackie Blumenthal. I am the vice chair of ANC 3B and also the representative of ANC 3B02, which is the location of the commercial center in Glover Park. My name is spelled Jackie, Blumenthal, Blumenthal.
Good morning, ma'am. All right. We're here today pursuant to DC Official Code Section 25354 to conduct a public hearing and receive testimony on a written request from Advisory Neighborhood Commission ANC 3B to extend the existing Global Park moratorium zone, which is set to expire on June 10th, 2022, pursuant to DCMR 23-308. On April 22nd, 2022, ANC 3B submitted its petition to renew the current moratorium for a period of 3 years. The ANC voted on April 14th, 2022, 4-0 with all 4-0 with all the commissioners present. The moratorium would retain the prohibition on the issuance of new licenses for the following retailer classes: CN, CT, DN, DT, and DX. It is also my understanding that the Glover Park Citizens Association, GPCA, voted to support ANC 3B's recommendation at its regular scheduled meeting on May 3rd, 2022. The board only received interest from the ANC to appear and testify at this hearing. Therefore, Commissioner Blumenthal, the floor is yours, followed by any questions from the board. Good morning, ma'am, again. You have, I think you have maybe about 5 minutes, but since you're the only witness, you'll have an extended period of time to state what you need to put on the record, ma'am.
Thank you. I submitted my testimony previously, hoping to save time by not reading it to you. You've stated our request accurately. We would like to extend the moratorium for 3 more years, just on taverns and nightclubs. And the reasoning is in both the petition and my testimony. I'm prepared to answer questions, or I can further describe why we want to do that.
Why don't you go ahead and further? I don't have your testimony in front of me, and also so we can also create a public record. So you can maybe summarize your testimony and tell us why is it that you're requesting that the board extend this moratorium for another three years, please.
The basic reason that we're asking for the extension is that we had hoped the last time we renewed was 2015. And at that point, we dropped we lifted the moratorium on everything but the taverns and the nightclubs, because we had managed over the period of time to stabilize our commercial area reasonably well. The Glover Park commercial area backs up onto a residential area. It contains apartment buildings and condo buildings. So we have always been a struggle between livability and liveliness. And right now we have a very good balance of goods and services in the commercial area. We've managed to, through the COVID downturn and shutdowns, we've managed to keep 20 of our 24, I think it's 24, active licenses. We have 5 vacancies, one of which will be filled this summer, which will give us 21 active licenses. Our maximum has never been higher than 25. We just started a Glover Park Main Street with the help of the Department of Small and Local Business Development. And we had hoped to use that to attract more family-friendly restaurants to our neighborhood for our vacant properties. But COVID has interfered with all of that. And we would like the next 3 years to make up the deficit of time that we lost trying to bring in more restaurants and not opening up our spaces to the potential of nightclubs and taverns. We are the home to a grandfathered nude club, which sits right in the middle of our commercial area. It's called the Good Guys Restaurant. It is a very disruptive element in our commercial area and is chiefly responsible for the ongoing disruption of the peace, order, and quiet here. We had a tavern that shut down several years ago due to drug issues, and it was also a problematic space for us. That space still remains open, and we are fearful that if by not being able to fill it with a restaurant, which we are trying to do, we could end up with the same problems that we had before. And since the moratorium has really helped us grow and stabilize our commercial area, we would like to keep it for 3 more years to see if we can actually pull this off before we lift it entirely. So I guess that's a summary of my testimony. The community is pretty much all in favor of this. And I guess I would like to take questions instead of keep yammering on.
That's fine. I do have some questions, but you can remember you're trying to convince the board you're trying to on behalf of the ANC, you're trying to convince the board to extend a moratorium to continue ban DT, CT, DNC, and DX and CX licenses. And I guess one of the questions I'll ask you, and this is something that I found out myself during COVID, that there are some traditional restaurants that currently have that are taverns. They're licensed class or taverns, and it was shocking to me that during COVID, when certain provisions were made for CTs, for CRs, that there were some establishments that I thought were restaurants, but their license class stated that they were actually taverns. So how would the addition of taverns / nightclubs in Glover Park impact peace, order, and quiet? I know that you talked about that you had a tavern that was responsible for concerns, and they moved, but you still have that space available. So can you respond to that question?
The reason that we're concerned about taverns in particular is that a tavern can choose to serve food and not just serve alcohol. But a restaurant can't avoid serving food, and therefore the effects of just alcohol are somewhat avoided. Our experience has always been that places that only serve alcohol tend to attract patrons who are more prone to inebriation, more prone to rowdy behavior, and that places that start out to be restaurants end up being restaurants that serve alcohol. And so you have a much more sociable approach that isn't as disruptive to the peace, order, and quiet. The other concern we have is that some of our restaurants that we're trying to support often have trouble making their food allocation, however they have to prove how much food they sell in relation to their alcohol. And we don't want to give them any reason to switch to a tavern license so that they no longer have to serve food. We are working very hard to support all of our businesses here through our Main Street program. And as I said, we did keep them almost all afloat through COVID, which is we were very proud of. So we would like to have a commercial center that reflects our neighborhood, which is more family friendly by the minute, more babies and more children every day.
Now, tell me, what's the public transportation situation in this neighborhood?
We have terrible public transportation. We have one bus line that runs up and down Wisconsin Avenue, no metro access, very, very difficult to get to, and we have very few parking opportunities as well.
Okay, so you just answered my question. So you're saying that parking is an issue in the corridor.
The only place you can park is in the neighborhood.
So you're saying that you believe that if we were to extend this moratorium for another 3 years, that you believe that the ANC might at some point change its position regarding moratorium zones?
Yes, we had hoped to be able to lift it this time. But the concern is that we have two large properties right now that are that are vacant. One of them is long-term because it's a tear down. So it's going to be a major investment to do that. But another one is a really great restaurant spot. And we would like the time to be able to continue to develop our neighborhood the way the residents nearby want it to be. It's, you know, it's a neighborhood commercial center. It's not, it's only 3 blocks long. And we already have one highly disruptive club in the spot already. So we just would like the time to do what we had hoped to do in the past 2.5 years that were lost to COVID, to finish our effort to improve the neighborhood, attract new businesses, and reflect the family-friendly nature of our neighborhood in the filling of the vacant properties.
I guess by the response to just the question I was going to ask you was, does the ANC anticipate any change in circumstances that would change your position regarding taverns and nightclubs? But I think you just answered that question in stating that you. Let me not put words in your mouth. Maybe you can answer the question right here.
Well, sure. I mean, what's going to be the change in circumstances is filling the vacant properties. And the other thing would be if we could ever figure out how to calm the situation at Good Guys Club, that would help a lot too. And I know the board is engaged right in the moment in a case regarding guns that were drawn inside Good Guys. And I'm hoping that, you know, you will help us work together to calm that situation. You know, it's right now very dangerous over there, and it's right in the middle of our commercial center. So those are the kinds of things that would make a difference going forward.
Thank you, ma'am. Any other questions by any board members?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Mr. Short.
Mr. Blumenthal, thank you for coming out today. And the question that I'm going to ask is somewhat similar to the peace, order, and quiet that the chairman referred to. Can you describe for the board and for the record what Glover Park comprises of percentage-wise, let's say residential versus business?
I'm not sure I understand the question. You want to know how much residential area?
Percentage-wise for Glover Park, what is the percentage of businesses versus the percentage of residents?
Well, there are about 10,000. There are about 10,000. Sorry, excuse me. Oh, I was going to say there are about 10,000 residents who live in the Glover Park area, and our commercial area has 52 storefronts.
Thank you, Ms. Glover. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Any other questions by any of the board members?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, Mr. Brandis.
Thank you, sir. Again, thank you for your presentation today. Could you help enlighten me a bit regarding the life of this moratorium? Do you know the first year that it went into effect?
1994.
Okay. But the original one, was it just for taverns and nightclubs then, or was it different?
No, the original one was for every license. No licenses could be issued. And in subsequent renewals, we lifted a little by little by little by little. And in 2015, we only had the moratorium for taverns and nightclubs.
And today then, under the moratorium, how many CTs are currently operating?
We don't have any.
No CTs?
No. But when in 2015 we had one, and we had just lost, we used to have 2 nude clubs here. We just lost one in 2014 due to drug trafficking.
That would be a CN.
Yeah, I know. I'm just adding.
Okay. I don't think the CT and a CN are the.
You're right. You're right.
Okay. So help educate me. You're saying that there's a moratorium on no new CTs, even including a CR that would like to, because of whatever their reasoning is, they can't change stripes and petition to be a CT based on the current language in the moratorium, correct?
That is correct.
So you made some statements that I may have misinterpreted, but it seems like that a CT on its face is a problematic establishment.
That has been our experience, yes.
I guess we should invite Cheers to come and educate our CTs on how to operate a neighborhood tavern. But seriously, you mentioned in your testimony putting COVID aside, because we all know how disruptive that has been at every level of our society. But putting that aside, there are restaurants that have a challenge in meeting the food alcohol requirements.
Yes, in recent years, because of the COVID thing, it's, and the downturn of commercial traffic, we had a Whole Foods here that brought people to the neighborhood, but it was closed for the past 5 years, and it's just reopened. So we're at a place now where we had hoped to be 2.5 years ago, and we just need to build ourselves back up a bit before we let it all go.
And you don't feel comfortable with a current CR that may have a good clientele, have a neighborhood clientele, but that they really struggle to meet the food alcohol. You don't think there's ways to build into that process if they came to the ANC to petition? I'm being hypothetical because the moratorium says no now, and I'm not suggesting that my hypothetical says that I'm going one way or the other. But from your perspective, because I know your neighborhood, and you go around your neighborhood and collect information. So you don't think that there are current establishments that really the neighborhood does support, but for whatever reason, with a number of tables or whatever reason, they really have a challenge in making the food alcohol? You don't believe if they were to petition the ANC could write a settlement agreement that addressed the concerns that are legitimate that you do have?
Yes and no. Settlement agreements are compromises, and we all know everything about them, and they work better for the licensee than they do for the neighborhood because they depend on enforcement. And ABRA's got an awful lot of enforcement to do all over the city. So, our feeling is if we don't have to take that risk right now, we'd prefer not to. We are not asking for the moon. We're just asking for 3 more years.
Okay. And just for the record, I was on the DuPont Circle ANC in 1988 and forward when John Ray was the person who introduced the moratorium language. And as soon as it was introduced, I think we DuPont tried to beat Georgetown, but we didn't to get moratoriums, but we ended up with 2, and I was supportive of those 2. Over the years that I've been involved in my neighborhood and now on the board, I'm concerned about the generational aspect of these type of policies, but I do understand the need for them. I'm just sharing because I think I did have an intimate relationship in promoting and understanding how these moratoriums work. I want to thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Just as an aside, Ms. Blumenthal, why the supermarket Whole Foods, why was that closed for 5 years?
So it was closed originally because we had a rat explosion here and they were overwhelmed, and they decided to use the shutdown to renovate. And the landlord decided to use that as a way to leverage a new lease and a higher rate because they had originally started out with a really long-term lease, and the landlord wanted to do that, and they ended up in this massive lawsuit for 5 years, which ended with both of them paying their own legal fees and Whole Foods getting the same lease terms that it had before. It was a complete waste of everybody's time.
It's unfortunate, but I'm glad that, as you stated, that you'll be having a supermarket back in the neighborhood. So I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions by any other board members? All right. Here are no other questions. I don't have any notation to see how long the comment period will remain open, but the board. Sorry. All right, I'm sorry, yeah. All right, thank you very much for your testimony today. We will issue a decision on at our June 8th, 2022 meeting, whether or not we'll grant the moratorium for another 3 years as requested by, but let me ask you a question. I just want to quickly ask the question. If the board was to consider a 5-year moratorium, what would you think about that?
That would be great, but we have always operated under the impression that our goal was to lift the moratorium and we did period after period after period after period. So that's why we're only asking for 3 years. We could use 5 years, but we're just trying to be, adhere to the plan of the moratorium idea.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, as I said before, then we will issue a decision at our next meeting, and our next meeting will be June 8th, 2022. All right. So thank you for your presentation this morning, and have a great day.
Too.
All right. What I'm gonna do now, we're at the end of our morning session. However, I'm gonna ask the board, I'm gonna go off the record for about 10 minutes, and I'm gonna ask the board members to return to executive session. And so we're off the record for 10 minutes for the board to go to executive session, and we will return at 11:50. All right, thank you. All right, we're back on the record. We're going to do our legal agenda. The first matter on our legal agenda, it's a review of an offer in compromise in lieu of a hearing dated May 23rd, 2022 for case number 22 CC 00002 Church/Georgetown Wing, license number 119851. The offer in compromise is as follows. Charge number 1, sale of alcoholic beverage to minors, Statutory Authority, DC Code Section 25781. There is a fine of $3,000 payable within 120 days of the board's acceptance of the OIC. If payment is not made within 120 days, the license will be suspended until payment is made. Additional term, the license shall be suspended for 5 days. All 5 days will be stayed for 1 year, and all employees who serve alcoholic beverages in a licensed establishment complete an alcohol training program within 3 months from the OIC's date. Charge number 2, failure to take reasonable steps necessary to ascertain legal drinking age, Statutory Authority, DC Code Section 25783. The fine, a warning will be issued in this case. I therefore make a motion that ABC Board accepts this offer in compromise. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short, I second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree, and the matter passed 6-0. Number 2, review of the District of Columbia's motion for continuance dated May 23rd, 2022 for case number 22 CMP 00010, Capital Fine Wine and Spirits, license number 082981. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will second.
Ms. Crockett and Mr. Grandis is second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 3, review of a settlement agreement dated May 9th, 2022 between Advisory Neighborhood Commission and to be determined. The name of the organization is Privateer 4400 LLC. The trade name is to be determined, and the license number is 119655. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Edward Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Ms. Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 4, review of a settlement agreement dated May 20th, 2022 between Advisory Neighborhood Commission 7B and Miss Toya's Southern Cajun Kitchen, license number 120812. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 5, review of the request to store records and invoices off the licensed premises. This is for Potomac Wine and Spirits, license number 001926. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 6, review of the request to withdraw protest in case number 22 PRO 00021. This is for Union Oyster Bar and Lounge, license number 110747. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Edward Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis and Mr. Short has second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. On the motion, Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 7, review of the request to reinstate canceled license dated May 23rd, 2022. License was canceled on November 18th, 2020, pursuant to board order number 2020-891. This is for High Street Cafe, license number 111617. I make a motion that we deny this request. Is there a second?
Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 8, review of the consent motion to reconsider and reinstate dismiss application dated May 23rd, 2022 in National Union Building, license number 120514. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 8, review of the MPD reimbursable detailed subsidy program hours of eligibility, notice of 7th emergency rulemaking. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Cato,
Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Ms. Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. We now move to our supplemental legal agenda. The first matter on our supplemental legal agenda is review of settlement agreement dated May 17th, 2022 between Advisory Neighborhood Commission 5E, the Bates Area Civic Association, Stephen Bible, and Best One Liquor, license number 120698. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Ms. Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. We now move to our licensing agenda. The first matter on licensing agenda, it's review application to extend safekeeping of license. This is for Ziegfeld Secrets, license number 078663. I make a motion that we approve this request to September 30th, 2022. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 2, review application of extensive safekeeping of license. This is for M Street Entertainment LLC, formerly RIA, license number 119608. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will
Crockett
second.
seconds.
Ms. Crockett and Mr. Grandis are second. The motion will now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 3, review a request to update the premise address to 0 Cameron Street, Alexandria, Virginia. This is an address correction, not a change of physical location. This is for Tall Ship Providence, license number 113871. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Short, I
Ms.
second.
Crockett seconds.
Mr. Short and Ms. Crockett, I second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Hanson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 4, review request to remove the Summer Garden endorsement from the license. This is from 1914 by Colben, license number 116067. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 5, review request for approval to provide a gift of draft cleaning services that does not exceed $500 in value to various licensed retail establishment. The request has been made by Premium Distributors, license number 060290. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Short, I second.
Mr. Short has second the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Cato,
Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 6, review request for approval to provide a gift of Nationals basketball tickets that does not exceed $500 in value to various licensed retail establishments. The request again is being made by Premium Distributors, license number 060290. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Henson,
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
and Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 7, review request for approval to provide a gift of neon signs that does not exceed $500 in value to various licensed retail establishments. Again, another request from Premium Distributors, license number 060290. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short,
Short, I agree.
Cato,
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett,
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson,
Jenny Hansen,
Grandis,
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis, and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 8, review request for approval to provide a gift of A-frame boards that does not exceed $500 in value to various licensed retail establishment. This is for Premium Distributors, license number 060290. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis, a second. The motion will now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Short, I agree.
Takeda.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. We now move to our supplemental licensing agenda. The first matter on our supplementary license agenda is review request for temporary operating retail permit. This is for Anchovy Social Myelino Mare, license number 121464. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Short, I agree.
Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 2, review request for approval to deliver alcoholic beverage on Sunday, June 12, 2022 for a temporary one-day event for the Capital Pride Alliance. The request has been made by Premium Distributors, license number 060290. I make a motion that we grant this request. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 6-0. Number 3, review of applicant criminal history for new pub license application. This is for Crawl With Us Entertainment Factory LLC, license number 121481. I make a motion that we approve this request. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis will second.
Mr. Grandis and Ms. Crockett have seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, abstain.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Grandis and I agree. The matter passed 5-0-1 with Mr. Short abstaining. We now move to our cancellation agenda. The ABC board will be canceling the following license for the reasons outlined below. The first one is Farmbird license number 116661. The licensee requests cancellation. The next one is Farmbird license number 116656. Licensee requested cancellation. Farmbird license number 120165. Licensee requests cancellation. Rodman's Discount Drugs. License number 000394. Licensee requests cancellation. I make a motion that the ABC board cancel these licenses. Is there a second?
Short, I second.
Mr. Short has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. We now move to the board's temporary one-day and substantial change docket. On this docket, there are 11 licensees. I will give the name of the licensees, the category of licenses that they have requested, And I will make a motion for either the board to approve or have a fact finding, but I will specifically make the recommendation for each case as I go through the list. But at the end of the list, then we'll have one vote. So the first request, a request from Shirley P. Hall. This is for one-day license class F. It's for a birthday party on June 25th, 2022. The license number is 121419. 250 attendees, 5 security guards. Number 2, it's a request from Alan M. Tubis. This is for one-day license class F. This is a 26th annual barbecue battle, Giant Foods barbecue battle. This is June 25th, 2022 and June 26th, 2022. The license number is 121450, 10,000 attendees throughout each day, 35 MPD plus special police officers. Number 3, a request from Jessica Patrick, a one-day license class F. This is a birthday party on June 18th. The license number is 121472, 25 attendees, 1 security guard. Number 4, a request from Ricardo Moru, M-O-A-U-R-O, a one-day license class G. This is for a wedding, July 3rd, 2022. The license number is 121459, 100 attendees, 5 security guards. Number 5, request from Sean Townsend, a one-day license class G. This is for Something in the Water Cultural Festival. The dates are June 17th through June 18th through June 19th. The license number is 121461, 52,500 attendees through the course of the day, 550 security guards. This is for a fact-finding hearing. Number 6, a request from Abigail Higgins, a one-day license class G, a wedding, June 2nd, 2022. One-day license. The license number is 121478, 225 attendees, 5 security guards. Number 7, request from Alexandra Baez, a one-day license class G, Sake Lemonade, June 11th, 2022. License number is 121479, 60 attendees, 2 security guards. Number 8, a request from Ryan Boss, a one-day license class G, Pride Parade, Capital Pride Alliance, June 11th, 2022. License number is 121482, 2,000 attendees through the day, 15 security guards plus MPD. Number 9, another request from Ryan Boss, a one-day license class G, Pride Parade Capital Alliance, Pride Alliance, June 12th, 2022. License number 121483, 100,000 attendees throughout the day, 49 security guards plus MPD, alcohol sold, consumed in 5 separate fenced-in areas. And number 10, a request from Quattro Restaurants LLC, a one-day substantial change birthday party, May 29th, 2022. License number is 118338. Substantial change license is 22 substantial SC 00756. Number 11, a request from Barcarda Wine Bar, a one-day substantial change. This is drag performance. This is June 28th, 2022. License number is 115719, substantial change number 22 SC 00770. This is for a fact finding. So I therefore make a motion that the ABC board approves the license, the request made by the licensees, with the exception that number 5, which is the Sean Townsend, and number 11, the Barcardo Wine Bar, that we have a fact finding on those 2 events. Is there a second?
Mr. Short, second.
Mr. Short and Mr. Grant is the second. The motion will now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Mr. Grandin. I'm sorry, Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Henson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0. We now move to the board's license and administrative docket. There are 21 licensees on the license administrative docket. I will review the names of the applicants. I will review the name, the type of establishment it is, and what is it that's been requested. At the end of the list, I will make a motion that the ABC board approves these applications. So the first one, it's the Women's National Democratic Club, license number 0003319. They are a CX license. They have a CX club change of officer application to add Laura Whitaker, president, and the letter of request to remove the officer Nucci, Nucchhi, Courier, Currier, president. Number 2, a request from Capital Yacht Club, a retailer CX club, change of officer application to have Lawrence K. Jones, president, and Kelly Regal, vice president. Number 3, a request from Capital Yacht Club, license number 001324, retailer CX club, letter of request to remove the officers Timothy S. Fontana, Douglas Smith, Joseph Walters Jr., and Matthew R. Colip, COLIP. Number 4, Foxtrot, license number 115514, retailer B full service grocery, letter of request to remove the officer Dan Wenhold as managing member. Number 5, Foxtrot, license number 115705, retailer C restaurant, letter of request to remove the officer Dan Wenhold, managing member. Number 6, Foxtrot, license number 116871, full retailer B full service grocery, letter of request to remove the officer Don Wenhold, managing member. Number 7, Foxtrot, license number 116872, retailer C restaurant, letter of request to remove the officer Dan Wenhold, managing member. Number 8, Foxtrot, license number 119162, retailer B full service grocery, letter of request to remove the officer David Barber, managing member. Number 9, Foxtrot, license number 119161, retailer C restaurant, letter of request to remove the officer David Barber, managing member. Number 10, Fogo de Chao Churriasa, CHURRASCARIA, license number 074173, retailer C restaurant, letter of request to remove the officer EYTAN TIGAY, Lucas Flynn, and Allison M. Steiner. Number 11, Ezra's, license number 089730, retailer A internet trade name change application. The new name is Seal, SEELBAC, Seal Box, SEELBACHS. Number 12, this is a request for personal importation permit application from Captain Joseph White, WIGHT. The license number is 22 IMP 00020. Number 13, Monumental Affairs, license number 079921. Caterer's license, letter of request to remove the officers Brian G. McNamara, Gregory Larson, and Dale Haberman, HABERMANN. Number 14, Hyatt Regency Washington, license number 075037, retailer C Hotel, letter of request to remove officers Brian G. McNamara, Gregory Larson, and Dale Haberman. Number 15, Mason's Famous Lobster Rolls, license number 120128, retailer C restaurant, new ABC license application. Number 16, Rodman's Discount Spirits, license number 120765, retailer A liquor store, transfer to new location application. Number 17, Nora 2, license number 1208881, Retailer C Tavern, new ABC license application. Number 18, Whitfield Entertainment Group Studios, Inc., license number 120468, Retailer CX Multipurpose Facility, new ABC license application. Number 19, KW Store, license number 120355, Retailer Beat 15%, new ABC license application. Number 20, Alley Cat, license number 119797, Retailer C Restaurant, new ABC license application. And number 21, The Lane Social Club, license number 121348, Retailer C Restaurant, transfer with sale application. I therefore make a motion that ABC Board approve these applications. Is there a second?
Ms. Crockett seconds.
Ms. Crockett has seconded the motion. We'll now have a roll call vote on the motion. Mr. Short. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Hanson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
And Mr. Anderson, I agree. The matter passed 6-0-0. We're going to move back to our afternoon calendar. And so let's move back to the calendar. We're now at our afternoon calendar. The first matter on our afternoon calendar is a matter that was scheduled for 1:30 this afternoon. Is case number 22 PRO 00013, Privateer 4400 LLC, trade name to be determined, license number 119655. This case has been canceled due to the approval of a settlement agreement, and that was approved earlier this morning on the board's legal agenda. The second case on our afternoon agenda is case number 22 PRO 00019, Beirut Nights, license number 120091. This case has been canceled due to the approval of a settlement agreement. See board order number 2022-239. We are now at the end of our calendar for the day, and I am going to close our meeting, adjourn our meeting for the day. As chairperson of the Alcoholic Beverage Control Board for the District of Columbia, and in accordance with DC Official Code Section 2575B and 2575B14 of the Open Meetings Act, I move that ABC Board hold a closed meeting on June 8th, 2022, for the purpose of discussing and hearing reports concerning ongoing or planned investigations of alleged criminal or civil misconduct or violations of law or regulations, and seeking legal advice from our legal counsel on the matters identified on the board's legal, license, and investigative agenda for June 8th, 2022, as published in the DC Register on June 3rd, 2022. Is there a second?
Ed Grandis,
Short, second.
Mr. Short and Mr. Grandis have seconded the motion. I will now take a roll call vote on the motion before us now that it's been seconded. Mr. Short.
Mr. Short, I agree.
Mr. Cato.
Bobby Cato, I agree.
Ms. Crockett.
Rafi Crockett, I agree.
Ms. Hanson.
Jenny Hansen, I agree.
Mr. Grandis.
Edward Grandis, I agree.
Ms. Grandis and I agree. As it appears that the motion has passed 6-0-0, I hereby give notice that the ABC Board will hold this closed meeting. Pursuant to the Open Meetings Act, notice will also be posted on the ABC Board Hearing Room Bulletin Board, placed on the electronic calendar and ABRA's website, and published in the DC Register in as timely a manner as practical. We're now adjourned for the day. I would like to thank the board members and members of the public who participated in this hearing today. Since we're now adjourned for the day, I now direct all board members to return to executive session for further development. Have a good morning. Have a happy holiday. Thank you.